Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Tonight, we're joined by Turning Point contributor, my friend Erin Elmore, and former Trump media advisor and national co-chair of Women for Trump, another friend, Dr. Gina Loudon. Erin and Gina, welcome to the show. A lot of tea tonight, I got to tell you. We just got done with the Super Bowl, first of all. And so I want to get some top line thoughts from you guys because Erin, you're from Philly.
Yes.
Gina, you are from Kansas City, right? So
from Missouri. Yeah.
From Missouri. Okay. Yeah, you're from Missouri, but not Kansas City specific. Okay, but you were a Kansas City fan. So congrats to you, Erin. Sorry. I mean, what an L for you guys. Hated to see it for you. How was the game in your opinion, Erin? And what was your favorite Super Bowl ad?
Well, it was a tough game. It was actually a very good game to watch.
It was a good matchup, I got to say.
It really was, but Philly always finds a way to screw something up. But as a town, I feel like Philadelphia really needed this. You know, we're struggling with a lot of crime. There's so much going on. It would have just been nice after our baseball Phillies lost almost in the 11th hour after not thinking we would make the playoffs. So it would have been nice to bring a trophy home. But at least it was a great matchup and a good game. And I love that our coach was so patriotic, crying during the national anthem.
Oh, my God. That was so sweet.
Beautiful moment.
Yes, I loved it. Favorite Super Bowl ad? What'd you think? Were you watching them?
I watched the ads. My favorite was the Ben Affleck working at Dunkin' Donuts and J-Lo pulling up, kind of razzing him per usual. It sort of felt like art imitating life and life imitating art.
I liked the Alicia Silverstone whole, what's it called? Why can't I think of the name of the movie? Clueless. God, am I that old? But then I realized as I was watching it that they were like, I was like, God, they've targeted me because they're like, old people will like this. And that's where I am now. And I realized that in the moment watching it because I was like really engrossed in it because I was like, oh, they have the characters and it's all happening. And Alicia Silverstone, P.S., looked amazing. Literally looked like the same person from the movie in the 90s. I loved it. Gina, congrats on the win.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I have to say about the Kansas City Chiefs, I know one thing even Erin will appreciate is that they have not conformed to the woke mob telling them to change the name Chief and to stop using the tomahawk thing. And I love that about the Kansas City Chiefs. So I thought that was a great moral victory for at least that would offend the woke mob. So you got to love that, right?
I mean, we'll take that where we get it because it's not often. Were they pressured, though, to change their name?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. You know, like Cleveland Indians did and all the rest
Washington
of them.
Redskins.
Yeah. So they have definitely been pressured and they have not conformed to that. And I will say, being from Missouri and spending a lot of time in Kansas City, because my husband, as you know, was a politician, a state senator there. Mm-hmm. So we had to travel there a lot. And I can tell you that people in Kansas City, it's a steak town. It's a barbecue town. This is red meat, all except the city, but all around Kansas City, Chiefs fans, they're Trump fans. Yeah. They're red-blooded Americans. They're not going to sit down for that silly wokeness.
Well, and I really loved the national anthem. I heard a lot of people criticizing Chris Stapleton's version. I thought it was beautiful. Obviously, you had, people were crying on the sidelines. My goodness, I thought it was phenomenal. But then we got to halftime, and I was like, oh, Rihanna's coming out. Let me watch this. I got my kids in bed like just in time for the halftime. Erin, what'd you think?
Well, I mean, there were a lot of sort of satanic symbolisms mixed with Oompa Loompa from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I mean, I think the big takeaway was less about her performance because the performance sort of fell flat. There was nothing really special about it. She barely moved around. But the takeaway was that she is pregnant again just after having a baby on, I think, May 19th. Ooh. So she got back to business really quickly, but she didn't make a formal pregnancy announcement. She alluded to it by saying, I think I'm going to bring a special guest with me. But if that were me, I would want to celebrate that moment and that baby bump and that maternity with sort of a big reveal of it, right?
I wanted to see, I looked it up. I stopped using Google because Erin, you told me to use DuckDuckGo. P.S. If anybody out there wants to, it doesn't flow off the tongue like Google did. But if anybody wants to not have your information tracked, DuckDuckGo is the browser to use,
and
I guess.
it's not just about tracking. It also gives you more accurate results.
There you go. They're not,
like if you Google who can have a baby, in Google it says a man can have a baby. At least DuckDuckGo gives you some of the real results. But anyway.
Yeah. But anyway, I digress. I looked it up as this performance was happening. I was like, is she pregnant? And then I saw she had just had a baby. I was like, man, maybe it's like that the baby weight hasn't come off. And look, I have never performed at a halftime show. In full transparency, I'm waiting for the request to come. I'm sure it's going to be maybe next year or the following that they'll call on me, and I'm ready whenever the moment happens. But that said, I was kind of waiting, like, when does something start happening? And I get it. She was like up on the big, I don't even know how high she was up on this dangling stuff. I was a little nervous about that in general. But then I thought, oh, they'll like bring her down and there'll be like some dance numbers, or there will be some performer that comes out with her or something else. And I don't know, Gina, I just wasn't totally blown away by it. And I felt like she was probably super hot in that outfit because I assumed she was trying to disguise the pregnant baby bump situation. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you I got a chance to see President Trump's comments on this, but he made the point that she's just it was just like you said, fell flat, but also kind of a fashion disaster. Like dressing like Satan is just, it's the favorite woke thing to do these days.
Everyone's doing it.
But my response to that, in all due respect to President Trump, is not everybody can be a Lara Trump or a Melania Trump. I mean, you guys are the fashion. So he's just surrounded by too much good fashion that is offensive to him. I think that Rihanna could have done a lot better.
I'm gonna take that and run with it, Gina. I'll take the compliment all day long. Well, I will say, there was nothing crazy that happened except Erin, maybe. The Philly fans did get a little crazy. You guys had the light poles greased either way.
Always.
And good thing, I guess, because, some people got a little wild, I heard last night in Philly. But I have a lot of people who I'm friends with who either are from Philly like you or from New Jersey and claim the Eagles. So sorry about the loss for everybody.
Yeah, it was a tough one.
But the good news is it's Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day to both of you ladies.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Do you guys celebrate? Like, do your husbands actually do things for you, or do they go by the old adage that this is just like a Hallmark holiday? Because I'll tell you, Eric Trump will tell you that this is just, they made this one up. But he's always very nice, and I always get some flowers on Valentine's Day. How about you guys?
Aww.
I bet I'm getting flowers, but Craig and I, we have a long-standing tradition of eating hot dogs on Valentine's Day.
Love it.
But this year, we will be at the baseball field with a game. I don't want any presents. My life is all a gift.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be super romantic over at the baseball fields.
That's nice.
Night. But they do have hot dogs there, so it's a win.
Well, you could carry on the tradition. Gina, how about you? What's happening on Valentine's for you?
Yeah, we always go out to dinner, just the two of us, someplace fun and maybe a little romantic. And he is very good about getting gifts. But I read the most beautiful Instagram post today, and it was talking about, the real flowers, the real gift for Valentine's Day or any of these, as Eric would say, sensationalized holidays is, that 3 a.m. feeding that you got up and did for me, that you dropped everything to, to take me someplace, believing in my career and my dreams. Those are the real Valentine's Day gifts, and I think that's just really true. It was a very poignant post. Maybe I'll try to repost it somehow or something.
Oh, very nice. Well, happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. Lots of love, even to the haters. We know that you exist. It's all good. I will say that one thing that can't go unnoticed, aside from Valentine's Day, have been the unidentified flying objects. That's actually what we're calling them now, because there have been numerous objects that have been appearing over our airspace here in America, over Canada. Let's see, as of current count, we had the one last week before the State of the Union that got shot down off the coast of South Carolina, one that was shot down over the Yukon in Canada, one shot down in Michigan, and one in Alaska. And I don't know. I mean, the press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre at the White House, Erin, seemed to kind of poke fun about it and say, it's not aliens. I did love E.T. as the movie or whatever. But I don't know. This makes a lot of people kind of feel like we are being invaded at this point. And I don't know how else you look at it if we have all of these objects above our airspace. Who knows what their purpose is? Who knows what their goals are? I don't know. What have been your thoughts on all of this?
Lots of thoughts, but we're certainly not showing peace through strength, right?
No.
I mean, we are actually showing weakness when we should be showing strength. We should be shooting these objects down. We shouldn't have a press secretary who's laughing and saying, hee, this is like E.T. We should be saying we are the strongest nation in the world. We are the United States. And if you come into our airspace, you will be dealt with accordingly. And there are a lot of the people that are a little bit more, let's say, conspiratorial, but we know the difference between the truth and a conspiracy theory, 6 months. So a lot of the things that we thought weren't real are becoming real. Some people out there are saying this is just a massive distraction for the nightmare that is Joe Biden and Washington and the failures of the COVID vaccine and the cover-up of Hunter Biden's laptop. So there are people that are saying, is there something more afoot here? These have United States writing on them. Is this a big ruse? Is this a big cover-up? But either way, the United States should be showing that we are strong and we are powerful. And no matter who or what you are, you shouldn't be invading our airspace. But if they are aliens, they're going to come down here and see the pronouns and the kneeling before the flag. And
they'll go back to wherever they came from if that's the case. Like, these people are crazy.
Yeah, we gotta go with them.
I know. Maybe we should ask to go. All I know is that the first one for sure, Gina, was from China. And if you ask Americans in a recent poll, about half of Americans believe we are going to war with China within the next 5 years. It didn't seem like we had a really good, as Erin said, footing about us whenever the first one came into United States airspace, lingered over some nuclear silos for a while, gathered some sort of intelligence of some variety, and was able to kind of float all the way across the United States before we did anything about it. I just feel like all of it makes us look so weak. All of it makes us the laughing stock of the world at this point. The fact that these sort of things are able to happen. And I don't know, the fact that now we've seen more and more of them makes me think somebody is either testing us or they have plans to do something even worse.
Yeah, and I, for the life of myself, the part of this I can never understand. The three of us are all moms, and that's why this is terrifying, because we love it and we're protective of our families. I can never understand how it is that the left in these instances seems to go on TV and rationalize and punditize this into utter oblivion, acting like it's nothing, when they've got to recognize that since President Trump was president, not just our economy, not just our culture, but our entire national security has been tremendously compromised. I read today some 700,000 of the illegals that have come across the border are Chinese nationals. You see this balloon and you start putting these things together, not even to mention Hunter Biden's deals with China, the millions that he and the big guy made, and you really start to realize that, how stupid do you have to be to not see this right now, right? But the scariest part of this, perhaps of all, is Joe Biden's absolute arrogance and non-reaction. He won't talk about it. He has no comment. He didn't do a Super Bowl interview like all other presidents have done most years when he needs it more than ever, because he needs to relate to people on some level. But he didn't, and it's because he didn't want to answer questions about this. Karine Jean-Pierre, she won't answer questions about it. She can't even figure out what the name of Canada is. She called it Canada. I mean, the whole thing is just like yes, she did. The whole thing is like some sort of, it would be, if it were in a movie, you would think no administration could act this blind and dumb on these issues, but here we are.
Yeah, you would say this could never be written in a script because it's so unbelievable, and yet here we are, and it's happening. I don't know. I don't know what the long term of this is, but to me, the fact that when the first one happened, and it was, wall-to-wall coverage on, at least on my TV, what I was watching, that's all they were talking about. I believe if my father-in-law had been in the White House, he would have at least come out and made some sort of a statement to the American people about it, because it is really frightening to have something like this floating over our country. And I mean, if you were in the path of this thing, obviously the three of us live in Florida, so it didn't come near us. But a lot of people said, well, who knows what's on it? What if there was something meant to cause harm? What if, there was something that would then trigger something else to happen? Who knows what that could have done? The fact that we didn't have a president who was able to come out and actually talk about it in the moment and say, here's the situation. We want you to know we're on top of it and we have everything under control. That is very concerning. And I think as we go forward, I'm afraid this is not the end. This is the beginning. And then if you look at the fact that our military right now is not focusing on military readiness, they're focusing on pronouns and nonsense. I got to tell you, if I am China or I am some American adversary, I'm saying now is the time. If you ever want to attack America or do something to test the waters, now's when you go, because you have a president who's asleep at the wheel, if he even knows he's at the wheel. You have a military who is not in position to, to be ready to act. They're focused on all the woke nonsense. And I don't know where we go from here, but I'm just hoping for the best. But unfortunately, I think we might be headed towards a really scary place. But speaking of pronouns and nonsense, and we'll just take it all the way to children transitioning. I read this article last week about a mother who had major regrets. She wrote a whole op-ed, I guess, about the fact that she let her son at 4 years old transition to a girl. Now, this was socially. There wasn't any sort of medication given or no surgeries, but she allowed her son at 4. My daughter is 3 and my son is 5. So I am like in the thick of where this woman would have been. Dressed like a girl, changed her son's name to a girl's name and called her son by female pronouns. And actually was told by a gender therapist to break ties with anyone who would not recognize her son's new pronouns. She said it felt like she was leaving a cult when she finally realized the mistake that she had made. And she really had been a true believer, she says, in gender ideology leading up to this. Dr. Gina, because, I mean, look, this was your wheelhouse, at least, psychologically for a long time. I got to get your thoughts on this. The damage that I think could be done, even at 4 years old, allowing a child to go through this, it must be a traumatic experience. My kids, by the way, tell me, my daughter, I say this all the time, tells me she wants to be a rainbow puppy. We are not going out and allowing her to transition to that. But I mean, this is really scary stuff.
It really is so scary. And this is, it always amuses me how the left loves to call anyone that supports Donald Trump a cult. But you'll see people dissent from what Donald Trump believes all the time and still support him because they know that he loves this country and that he's not finished fixing it. And there's no better evidence of the fact that politics is downstream of culture, as Andrew Breitbart said, than this particular issue where we are messing up children. We're not the cult. They're the cult. There's no way that this child will ever be normal, but at least this child is going to have a mom who's going to say, look, this crazy cult mob told me this was normal, and I apologize. The mom can explain it and communicate it later because she did actually come out of her haze, right? But the scary thing is that this is happening all the time, Lara, and it's not just happening by moms who later are going to be able to communicate with their child about it. It's happening in schools where children are being given drugs to transition them, hormone blockers that they don't know. They don't know what these hormone blockers do long term. And you have a suicide rate post-transition. The suicide rate among those who go through that later in life is tremendously higher, like dozens of times higher. I've written numerous articles about this. And so it is really scary that we are experimenting on our children like this. And but it proves definitely who the cult really is.
I mean, Erin, we both have young kids, and this kind of thing to me, I don't know where this one ends either. Talk about, we don't know what's happening with all these aircraft or unidentified objects above our airspace. Where do we end with this? Because what we've obviously seen is the increase in children, and I'm talking like young children all the way up through high school age kids who are identifying as transgender. I mean, it's skyrocketed. It's thousands and thousands of % higher than it even was like 5 or 10 years ago, let alone like 20 or 30 years ago. From 2017 to 2021, insurance claims for puberty blockers went up 120+% because it's being so readily dispensed. And then you think about the fact that you have so many states across the country where parents don't need to be notified necessarily if their child in school is being is asking to be called a different pronoun. Or in some cases, like in California, you can go and actually start the transition process without approval of your parents at a relatively young age. I don't know. I mean, we're going to have a messed up generation of kids at the very least.
At the very least, because you know what I want to call it? Trans Inc. These hospitals, these doctors, these psychologists and psychiatrists are making big money on this. And there's been a little bit of an expose. If you dig hard enough on the internet, you'll see a top surgery can get a hospital like $40,000. So it's not just about the parents that are coming in there saying, please fix my child. I am struggling with them emotionally, psychologically, physically. The parents want a switch to be flipped to fix their precious children. And I think some of them just don't know any better. And they're at their wits' end saying, maybe this will just give me back my baby. And they go into these hospitals, and what these hospitals are seeing, and every mom and dad out there should realize, these hospitals see you as a dollar sign.
Yeah.
They want to steal your children for profit. They don't care about the well-being of your family and of your children. This is a lucrative big business. And those that aren't in the lucrative big business are unwell and want to see the upset of a normal nuclear family in our society. So most of these people that are motivated to do that are evil. And the parents that are struggling with losing their sweet, innocent children, I do feel that a lot of them just don't know any better and they're at their wits' end. So maybe they'll see something like this or be able to do some other reading or talking about this mother who has tremendous guilt about the transition and say, wait a minute, let's dig a little deeper, because we do see that the studies are showing that most children with gender confusion, I believe over 75, 80%, these children resolve it naturally without surgery, drugs, or mental and psychological abuse.
Yeah. And the thing that I think is so crazy to me is that it's become so glamorized, right? To the transgender whole issue is glamorized in such a way that if you are a child in school who maybe isn't, popular, or who doesn't have a whole lot of friends, don't know where you fit in, if you come out and say I'm transgender, you're applauded. People look up to you and they say, well, how brave this person is for doing this. It is made, very glamorous in that respect. And then you have things like Sims 4. This is a video game where it's a very popular game for kids, where you have an option for the character to have had top surgery with scars and chest binders, and they have pronouns. Now, the crazy part is the characters in these games don't even speak a real language. They just make some kind of noises, but yet they got to have pronouns and they have the option to have had top surgeries. It feels like there is some massive push out there to drive our children in this direction. And what I always wonder is, why haven't we had a conversation about, okay, if your child comes to you and says, I feel like I'm misgendered in some way, there should be some, protocol for parents to say, here's how we deal with this. And I'm going to tell you, when you turn 18 or 21 or whatever it is, when you're an adult and you've had, some life experience and you can make your own choices, then you can choose to do this. But at 4, at 8, at 12, at 15, you are far too young to make these life-altering decisions. But it doesn't seem like, Gina, anybody's interested in helping parents who want to help their child, of course, but also want to make sure that they don't make a huge mistake like this mom.
Well, it's exactly for the reasons you said, Erin, and that is because if you follow the money, and I always say on my shows, I follow the money because it comes down to that. They realized this back when they started putting all these kids on ADD drugs, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not they really had ADD. And then after ADD, now I think there's one that's like non-ADD, and they have a drug for that. None of the drugs in the DSM, the Diagnostics and Statistics Manual, the 5th edition, which is the current one, none of these drugs have to be tested or proven. Let that sink in. They don't have to, yeah. And so this is the same now with these gender altering drugs, and they don't have to prove anything. They don't know if they cause cancer. And in fact, it's showing that they do. And there are a lot of other things that they haven't studied, but they realized they could make an absolute fortune. So they started marketing them in these little bitty towns. And this is what they're doing here too. This is the same thing. It's all about the money. And so it's a difficult thing, to take the money out of it. Remember that prescription drugs can't advertise in other countries. And there's a reason for that, because this kind of corruption follows it. And your father-in-law was the one that we could count on to take them on, but there's sure nobody taking them on right now.
Yeah, and he's talked very much about this specifically. And I think as it relates to especially female athletes, because we've all seen how difficult a situation it's been for all these young women who have, people who were born as males competing in women's sports. It doesn't make sense. Actually, a pro surfer, Bethany Hamilton, you guys probably remember her. She was the one who became famous because a shark bit off her arm when she was younger. She put out a video on Instagram talking about how they're allowing men to compete in the women's division in pro surfing, and she doesn't believe it's fair. And she says it very eloquently, and I think the way she said it actually reflects probably most people's views, which are you should do what makes you happy, and whatever you want to do to yourself, that's great. But it's not fair that people who are born as men can compete against women. It just doesn't make sense. The bodies are different. There are so many advantages to the male body in sports, as much as I hate to admit that as an athlete myself. But I give her a lot of props, Erin, because these days nobody wants to talk about it because people think that you hate everybody if you say anything like she did, which is men shouldn't compete in women's sports.
And I actually had a talk. I gave a public speech in Pennsylvania and to a lot of Republican women. And I said, do you want boys competing against your little girls? And everyone looked around the room, and I said, ladies, if you don't start speaking up now, you're not going to have a voice. These are things that we need to speak out against. It's not about the Leah Thomases, the Penn swimmer that is still biologically a man. It's not about them taking hormones. It's that men have a larger lung capacity, a different muscular structure, different bones, different wingspans. There is no way for men and women to be in the same category in terms of physical athletics. And these girls that have been working for this their whole lives are getting passed over for scholarships, for opportunities in their future, for the Olympics. And this is not believe all women or support all women or the future is female. It's putting females back in a box and advancing men, which is the whole sort of hypocrisy of the liberal ethos on this. So it's really hard to watch. And I know one of the young swimmers came out recently and spoke out against sharing a locker room with Leah Thompson. So Leah is the Penn student that I spoke about earlier. Leah still has biological male sex organs externally, if I can put it that way, as
very eloquently put, very well said.
So how can you be in a locker room with young women like that? And that's when our society is just being turned on its head. And that's when the Communist Party of China or, other forces that want to take us over say, look what these people are worrying about. Look what they're doing. We can go in there as a Trojan horse so easily and take them over because logic has been turned on its head. Common sense has been turned on its head. And this is not what we need as a society, and we're not helping women by no means.
What I will say, though, is as a woman who competes in sports as often as I can, nothing makes me happier than passing a guy on my bike, than passing a guy when I'm running. Let me tell you something. That's a good feeling, because I know deep down, as much as I hate to admit it, men are inherently better at those things than women. So when I get you in my sights out there, believe me, I'm going to die trying to beat you. And sometimes I do. And let me tell you, it's amazing. Love it.
Lara, I pass you on my car while you're riding your bike all the time. It gives me tremendous guilt. That's a true story.
It's true. Yeah. You give me a little honk every now and again. I appreciate that.
I just don't want to scare you while you're biking. So I try not to honk anymore.
I'm good. I'm prepared for everything. I'm always a head on a swivel at all times. You got to assume these people in cars don't see you on a bike. And a lot of times they don't. Let me tell you that. Shout out to all the bikers out there. Last thing, and I got to get to this. I know we're running out of time, but they just revealed recently the safest place on a plane to be while you're flying. And to anybody out there that is spending money on the first class seats, I'm sorry to tell you, you are in one of the worst places to sit on the airplane. The best spots, by the way, it's like the 6 rows on the aisle leading up to the toilets in the very back of the airplane. So I know we're all like, oh God, every now and again you get those seats. If the plane goes down, you're going to be in good shape, Gina, because that is apparently a good place to sit if you want to live. I'm always on the aisle though, because I always have to get up and go to the bathroom, and I never want to make people move. What is your seat on the plane? Where are you sitting?
So
aisle or window?
Well, I like the window, but because I like to look out, because I like the pretty view. But if you're me, you have an even safer space, because after January 6th, on January 7th, I've never been able to fly. I'm on some terror watch list for going and doing my job, reporting, and not even going near the Capitol. But it doesn't matter. That's what they did to me. So I'm really safe in this particular scenario. But I am definitely a window seat girl all the way, even though I do have to get up and go to the bathroom a lot too. I guess I inconvenience my neighbors because I like that view out there.
Erin, sometimes I get on these planes, and if I have the window seat, I try to kind of negotiate with the person who's on the aisle. And I'm like, listen, if you want this, you can have it, because I'm so sorry. 2 of y'all are going to have to get up like the whole flight, because I'm going to have to I drink a lot of water. I try to stay hydrated. I don't know what to say for myself. Where are you sitting on the planes, Erin?
I mean, by the grace of God, if I have a few extra miles or points, I beg to get upgraded, but that doesn't happen because I don't like to travel anymore. I live in the best place in America, so I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
I am a window, so I can sort of sleep against the edge. But I do wonder if I put my tinfoil hat on. This is a little bit of predictive programming. The airlines are now saying that they're going to reduce the pilots from 1 to 2. All of these pilots had to be vaccinated. They're talking about pilots having a lot of heart issues, and we need 2 pilots. So maybe they're trying to make us comfortable. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm really not. But I just hope they're not trying to normalize things happening on planes, because relatively speaking, we've had safe air travel and not a lot of incidents. But I'm not a nervous flyer. I don't want to be one of those people that gets on the plane like white knuckling it. So I just get on that plane. I don't worry where I am, other than if I'm right in the back next to the toilet. I just think I'm going to get to my destination safe and sound.
Now you're safe back there by the toilets. Here's the crazy thing. So you're right. It's what use is it to get on a plane and get nervous because the plane's going to take off, whatever. Lynn Patton, who you have been on this show with before, Erin, and I know, Gina, you know her too. I've been friends with Lynn for like 15 years. Okay. Lynn Patton, still to this day, when she gets on an airplane, will start a timer on her phone for 3 minutes, because she's always said she's such a smart person. But I'm like, Lynn, this is stupid. What are you going to do? Anyway, she goes, the first 3 minutes statistically are when something is most likely to happen if you're going to crash. She's not totally wrong, because apparently on December 18th, there was a flight from Maui to San Francisco. I don't know if you guys saw this. 71 seconds into the flight, and I thought immediately about Lynn. The plane had climbed to just over 2,000 feet and dropped like something crazy at 86,000 feet per minute to just over 700 feet above the ocean, like almost crashed into the Pacific Ocean. Apparently it was a horrible, like turbulent situation. It only lasted for 45 seconds. But they were pulling like close to 3 Gs, and over 3 Gs, a lot of people will pass out because that's just how your body responds. So I guess Lynn was right, and maybe the timer for 3 minutes, she's not totally crazy. Although I don't know what you do. I feel like we've all been on a bad flight, but this was a really bad one. And I feel like there are like more incidents lately where there are planes almost crashing into each other on the runways. There was something with a FedEx flight and a Southwest flight recently. So I don't know. Maybe we don't, Erin, need to get rid of any pilots. Let's keep them all on board. I think more pilots. I think give them more rest time. Let's get more in the mix because we all want to get to where we need to go and get there safely. Except, God bless Gina. How long does the moratorium on your flying last?
Until President Trump is reelected, I think. Probably. I mean, I don't know. That's just my guess. I really don't know. I mean, it's not like there's a handbook on what you do when you're in this position.
That's true.
And listen, I consider myself very blessed. We still have people sitting in prison in solitary confinement, being abused by the system. Our President Trump, already has Joanne Miller on that topic. She's already working on this issue. Before he's even reelected, that was the first thing that he did, was he went and made sure somebody was on this issue. So compared to them, I have no complaints whatsoever, Lara, because I think about them every single day while we are while I'm going about my daily life and enjoying it, that they're still sitting there in a gulag, many innocent people who did absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Absolutely awful. Meanwhile, I'll be the one dying first on the aisle. So it's been nice knowing everybody. I hope it works out for me. Well, I feel like there's so much more I always want to talk about, but we're out of time for today. So I want to say a big thank you, of course, to Erin and Gina for joining us here. You guys are amazing. And to everybody at home, as always, thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here next time for more. At The Right View, we're very proud of the fact that we are independent. We get to say everything that we think and everything that we feel. We have no woke companies guiding us or telling us what we can and cannot say. We are always going to shoot you straight and give you the facts as we know them. And that's why it's important to support independent outlets like The Right View. My name is Lara Trump, and I think Mike Lindell is a patriot. He is someone who loves this country, is willing to fight for this country. I love MyPillow because not only are MyPillows made in the USA by American workers, but they're great products, and they're so great that not only do I use them in my own bed at night, my children actually requested. My daughter the other day went to the closet and pulled out a MyPillow and said, "This is the pillow that I want to sleep with." And I gotta tell you, she loves it and will have nothing to do with any other pillow. So it's a big hit around our house. My dogs also happen to sleep on MyPillow dog beds. So all around the Trump household, we're big fans. If you go to mypillow.com today and use promo code Trump, again, promo code Trump, you will not only save money, but you will help us continue this show and other shows like it and help us continue the fight for the future of America. Inflation has impacted all of our lives. I don't think anyone can go to the gas pump or the grocery store without noticing that it is a major factor. And unfortunately, it's not going anywhere. It doesn't seem like it's going down in the way that we would like it to. And one way to protect your money is by investing in precious metals, gold and silver. That's always been a great way to make sure that you keep your money and you keep it safe. When you go to bh-pm.com, use promo code Trump. That way, if you decide you want to invest in gold and silver, you'll save yourself a little bit of money. We live in a time that's very interesting. A lot of us out there feel like a lot of our rights are slipping away. And if you're like I am and you want to have the right to choose whether or not to have a vaccine, how to live your life freely, and you're looking for a great doctor, I've heard amazing things about Dr. Sherwood. He's somebody who you should really check out and check into, and it'll help support this program and keep us going. So go to Sherwood.tv and use promo code Trump. Again, Sherwood.tv and use promo code Trump. You can save yourself some money and help us keep our program going.
Psst, ladies and gentlemen, this just in. We'll keep this a little secret between you and me and them and everybody. Whoa. The people that are actually at the tip of the spear, working directly with President Trump on a day-to-day basis to save this nation, they're all joining us on the Reawaken America tour. We have President Donald J. Trump's Chief of Staff, Kash Patel. We've got Peter Navarro's joined us on the tour. We have General Michael Flynn. We have Lara Trump. The people actually working at the tip of the spear with President Donald J. Trump to save America are joining us on the Reawaken America tour. Whoa. If word of this gets out, if the truth about election fraud, medical fraud, religious fraud, monetary fraud, and mainstream media gets out, it may just save the nation.
The Reawaken tour's coming to our place, hallelujah. It's gonna be lit. It's gonna be lit. Yeah, it's gonna be lit. Wide slam open.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, on May 12th and 13th, the Reawaken America Tour is coming to Miami, Florida, and to the beautiful Trump Doral Resort and Golf Course. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the Reawaken America Tour is coming to Miami, Florida on May 12th and 13th. Get your sunscreen ready because General Flynn, Mike Lindell, Amanda Grace, Julie Green, Pastor Dave Scarlett, Dr. Judy Mikovits, Kash Patel, and Team America are taking the Reawaken America Tour to Trump Doral on May 12th and 13th. And then we're taking the God-fearing, revival-starting Reawaken America Tour into Sin City. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are taking the God-fearing Reawaken America Tour to Las Vegas, Nevada on August 25th and 26th. General Flynn and Team America will be taking the Reawaken America Tour to Las Vegas, Nevada. And the Patriots will be staying together at Trump International Hotel, Las Vegas, located at 2000 Fashion Show Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada, with zip code 89109 if you want to send them a letter. And yes, Alex Jones will be live and in person at the Reawaken America Tour, Las Vegas, Nevada. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, put it on your calendar. Get those tickets right now. August 25th and 26th. Eric Trump, Dr. Peter McCullough, Mel K, Dr. Stella Emanuel, Owen Schroyer, Alex Jones, Seth Holhouse, Pastor Mark Burns, Pastor Leon Benjamin. We're all taking the Reawaken America Tour to Las Vegas, Nevada, ladies and gentlemen. Las Vegas, Nevada. And that's going to be August 25th and 26th. Thus far on the Reawaken America Tour, we've featured Dr. Dave Martin, the late great Dr. Vladimir Zelenko, Charlie Kirk, Donna Clement Petruska, Sean Foyt, Karen Kingston, Chad Prather, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Dr. Alan Keyes, Mickey Willis, Roger Stone, Dr. Richard Bartlett, and hundreds of patriotic speakers that you know, including Del Bigtree, Thomas Renz, Sidney Powell, Jim Caviezel, Donald J. Trump Jr., Peter Navarro, Klaus Schwab, Yuval Noah Harari, Bill Gates, and the godless globalists have their annual meeting called the World Economic Forum at Davos. But we that reject the Great Reset have the Reawaken America Tour coming to Miami, Florida, and coming to Las Vegas, Nevada. Get those tickets at time2freeamerica.com. That's time2freeamerica.com. We have scholarship pricing to make these events affordable for everybody. Every Reawaken America Tour event has sold out, so request those tickets today at time2freeamerica.com. That's time2freeamerica.com. Or for faster service, you can send me a personal text to 918-851-0102. That's 918-851-0102. And to be bilingually sensitive, that's 918-851-0102.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the go. You know the thing.
We will shut you down. We will cite you, and if we need to, we will arrest you, and we will take you to jail. Period.
I wasn't thinking of the Bill of Rights when we did this.
But no amendment to the Constitution is absolute.
God actually spoke to me. He spoke about sacredness. He said to me, Tim, what I place in many, many people is sacred. And if anybody touches what is sacred to me, then it is the end for them. So what I've done in the United States of America is sacred. And there are people on every side that are trying to destroy what I deem sacred. And it's not going to happen.
This is the definition of criminal conspiracy, racketeering, and collusion. This is not a theory. This is evidence.
Because I have upheld this country to spread the light to the rest of the world. When you choose to go against the sacred thing that God puts into the very heart and the soil of this nation, this was sacred to God.
Now is the time to act.
This is exactly why I need some action from my people.
Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be with you.